get us started, okay?
I think that's my cue.
Nope.
Since 1992, Carolina International Trucks and Idea Lease has supported commercial trucking with our 6 South Carolina locations, serving all makes and models of commercial trucks. We want to thank the hard-working heroes of the trucking industry. From drivers to technicians, these dedicated workers are the backbone of our communities, transporting and distributing supplies and food that otherwise would not be delivered. At Carolina International Trucks and Idea Lease, we encourage you to thank a trucker and show them your support today. Trucking moves America forward.
Nice video.
Are you, Rick?
Is that my cue to go? All right. Sorry about the delay there, guys. Good afternoon. My name is Rick Todd. I'm President and CEO of SCTA, and welcome to this session. We thank the generous contributors to the SCTA Truck Fund for providing some much needed financial support and sponsoring this series of virtual learning sessions. I think you're in for a treat today. You know, the last decade or so, smart employers have stepped up their game in terms of employment, in terms of employee recruitment, treatment, and their company cultures. Finding and retaining drivers and technicians and good, honest, motivated associates at all levels has been challenging and a major focus of everybody's effort. With the pandemic, employers and employees are placing health and mental wellness at the top concern now. This makes for even greater challenges than ever. So we thought it might be good to host this segment and this topic today. With us, we have Tim Hindes. He is the CEO and co-founder of Staymetrics, the leading provider of evidence-based feedback, engagement, and retention solutions for the transportation industry. Tim is back to SCTA by popular demand as he spoke to our live meeting 2 years ago.
Indeed.
Tim has more than 3 decades of experience in the trucking industry. He's been an owner, operator, dispatcher, and he's run a logistics firm. This gives him a unique understanding of and a perspective about trucking. Tim co-founded Staymetrics with a mission to make a positive impact on the lives of drivers and their co-workers. Staymetrics and their team, they work with trucking companies throughout North America, helping them to engage, reward, and keep their best and safest drivers. Staymetrics was honored to be named one of the best places to work in Michigan. Or is that Indiana?
That's Indiana.
There's a typo, excuse me.
That's all right. We probably win Michigan too.
Introduce yourself a little bit more in a second. And following and alongside Tim, we have Marla Godette. And Marla is a graduate of the University of Michigan, where she took a trifold concentration studying anthropology, sociology, and psychology, earning a master's degree in counseling from Central Michigan University. Marla is passionately working with and learning from people of all ethnicities, cultures, and backgrounds, and now pursuing her doctorate in global leadership through Indiana Tech in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Marla has become a highly requested clinician, specializing in care of those diagnosed with chronic mental illnesses, and offers services to individuals transitioning through life changes, such as career or academic changes, and training to organizations. And so she's an adjunct professor and a sought-after international conference speaker and presenter. So with that, Tim and Marla, thank y'all for being here, and the show is yours.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you,
Thank
Karen.
you for having us.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate it. We appreciate the opportunity today to talk about heartfelt leadership and just to talk about leadership, period. It seems to be a pretty timely topic, and I'm looking forward to having a good discussion with Marla. We do this all the time, but we don't do it on webinars. So what does that mean? That just means we just kind of free form. So that's kind of where we're going to go today. Marla, go ahead and kick it off a little bit.
Yeah. So thank you all for having me. I appreciate being here. This topic is so timely. I want to say kudos to the leadership of Tim Hindes. He contacted me back in November 2019 saying, let's meet, let's talk. I want to dig deeper into how to help my employees. And he used a personal experience of when I'm emotionally and mentally well, I'm a better leader. And when I'm a better leader, I have better employees. And so we worked with that and talked about that. And Tim brought to Staymetrics a series of trainings that I facilitated and, reworked them based on the needs of the company. And the outcomes that we've watched have been absolutely positively phenomenal. The engagement of the employees during the COVID season and transitioning to working from home, managing a different lifestyle, and I'm working at home. I got kids here, I got husbands here. One had 3 dogs. Like, what do I do? Normally I get away from this stuff, right? And I'm going to tell you the leadership that Tim exhibited prior to, I've seen Staymetrics have a much smoother transition with the COVID and, again, work from home, different lifestyle changes, as opposed to some of my other corporate clients. So when we started studying this heartfelt leadership and bringing it back from when Tim was introduced to this over 8 years ago, it's like we always say, who's writing this movie, how things come together.
Yeah.
And then the opportunity to meet with Taryn and Rick and to present to you all has been nothing but timely, and I'm going to use the word essential, since it's about the essentialness of things right now, right? So I'm going to lead this conversation a little bit, and I just wanted to set that foundation that Tim's leadership started this months and months ago in preparing. How do I, as a leader, want to help my employees to be better physically and mentally? We have these programs for employees, and we offer EAP, and people do that often to kind of check the box. We have something for you. But when I do research, I see that most employers don't really have to spend that necessary money on that because employees don't use it. But when you offer it and bring it to your organizations, how does that look? My thing with this today is what type of leader even thinks to do that. So I want Tim to start with this whole concept of heartfelt leadership and answering the question for us, what is it?
Yeah, so I'm going to, far be it from me to do this, Marla, but before we get down the heartfelt, I want to talk about the epiphany I had and the strategy I had to bring mental health training into the company.
Absolutely.
Because that's part of heartfelt leadership, but it's something different. And I had my own personal experience where through some help from some friends and professionals, it was brought to my attention that lo and behold, that I have emotional reactions, specific emotional reactions when I would have a certain situation.
Mm-hmm.
And now when I would react, I'm not I wasn't a bad guy. I wasn't a bad boss. I wasn't, but I certainly wasn't productive. It was sarcasm, backhanded compliments. What's the term for that, Marla?
Passive aggressive.
Passive aggressiveness, right? And I was a pro. I had taught myself for 20 plus years. I was pretty good at it. These little zingers. But when my awareness, self-awareness, came on, and you had actually helped me through a lot of this. When my self-awareness came on, I understood that I could control it, right, to a certain degree. So we had a situation in the office. Where I got exposed to mindfulness. And the idea with mindfulness is that you're training your brain to be able to stay focused on something, and you can use that strategy when you do feel a reaction coming to something that you would normally react to. So I had an experiment with this on a Friday afternoon. There was something in the office that just really didn't go my way. I was pretty emotional about it. I wanted to react to it. I was going to go in my partner's office and give him a piece of my ear, and I was going to talk to a couple people on the floor, and I'm sure I would have made their weekends a little bit more miserable. And instead, I just decided to go home. And now remember, if people are thinking, man, why would I want to work for that guy? We're pretty good people to work for anyway. We win a lot of awards, right? But we can continue to do better. So I went home, and over that weekend, I thought about it, and the problem was not that big of a problem. It really wasn't. If I would have reacted, I would have overreacted. So here's my epiphany that I want to share with people that absolutely should change the way you do things. Is that when I didn't react, I was a better boss. And then in the office, I was clearer in my thinking, clearer in my strategy. So the epiphany is what if everybody, you can't get everybody, but what if the majority of your team understood themselves a little bit better, right? Okay, and had some training. So that was my aha moment that got me on the phone with one of my mentors and said, hey, who is writing the book about mental health in the workplace? I personally think it's the Holy Grail, right? When we start now using science and build profiles to put people in the right seats that our company can help with, that's a part of it, okay. But the bigger part of it is people understanding themselves and how in their own emotions. So do you want to speak to that just a little bit before we get into Heartfelt?
Sure. So we all have our basic personality. We all have, how we're bent,
Yeah.
And then we have our temperaments, all of this. But when we get into the work environment, if we don't really know who we are and how we respond to things, well, we can't definitely expect our peers to know.
Right.
So, you get to work and you're having a rough day, but nobody really knows you anyway. And you respond snarky, is the word you use. And someone's saying, oh, well, and then they take it all personal, and now everybody's offended, and I can't get my work done.
Right.
Which is ultimately why I'm here, right? I got to get some work done, but Sally Sue over there is giving me the evil eye, and all I did was ask her, was she having a nice day? And so now everybody's mad. Sally Sue's mad about whatever happened at home, and I'm mad at Sally because she's going off on me at work. Is she really going off on you, or is it her personality that's being tried a little bit because her emotions are a little bit out of whack?
Sure.
So because I don't even know, and then am I responding because I have this personality that needs to be validated some kind of way? So the more we get into studying mental health, the basics first of all, what is it? What is it? And then when we start studying the basics of what is it and common mental health disorders, that was on a Thursday. And then on a Friday, Tim has an employee that checks himself in the hospital, and we feel saved a life, right? Because people really didn't feel like they could talk about mental health at work.
Yeah.
Because of the next
Stigma.
class was stigma.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, my boss is going to let me talk about this and not think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I can get a mental health checkup. I didn't know that. So the guy went and had a mental health checkup, and sure enough, they checked him in.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. And
Yep.
so as this progressed, and we're seeing, wow, the mental health of people is what is possibly affecting some of this productivity, or
sure.
affecting the atmosphere in the room.
And
Then we do a training on trauma. Oh, my own personal stuff is coming out in my work.
Yeah.
I can check that, right?
Yeah.
And so it just went on and on into more and more mental health conversations. So when COVID came and people were stressed out to the hilt, we were ready for the conversation of, oh my God, guys, I'm losing it here. I the dog's barking in the back. Help me.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to tell Tim that I can't get stuff done because I'm scared. But and then that peace of mind that came with, oh, let's learn these strategies based on my personality.
Yes.
And it helped to relieve some of the stress mentally. Go ahead.
Marla, that was so good. And just to recap with people, so in November we brought Marla in, and we were doing group training, and she did group training 3 times. The feedback from our team was overwhelmingly high. I bet you I had 80% of our team members after the first one track me down, raving about it, asking if their other family members could come the next time. But the thing it did for us as a heartfelt leader, I'll tell you, and this is almost divine intervention, is when COVID hit and our people were just like everybody on this call. They're trying to figure out what's life like, what's going on. Well, we already had a forum to discuss it. So we actually did Zoom calls with Marla every week for about the first 3 or 4 weeks. And to see team members checking on each other, and then we know a lot of that happened at one-on-one individually. It was really, really heartwarming to me. So I think that's super smart. I think it's a pretty gutsy move. I'm a small privately held company. I don't have private equity or large investors. So, if I decide to do something like that that's not mainstream, then I'm free to do that, which I enjoy that freedom. But let's get to heartfelt leadership and what is it? So can you, do you have the copy of the book? I don't know if I have it. Do you have a copy of the book somewhere, Marla, as your, okay. So
I don't have it.
The book is Heartfelt Leadership. The book is Heartfelt Leadership, and it's written by Deb Bolkus and Dr. Mark Goulston. That's okay. Don't worry about it. So if you want to learn more, there's not only the book, but there's a Heartfelt Leadership Institute, and I've been aware of the group for about 8 years, and I didn't really know that they were going to write a book, but they went all throughout the country, seeking people out that had extremely unique cultures that seemed to attract people and had very low retention and very high performance as a company. And we happened to hit that spot. But what heartfelt leadership really is it's leading with the intention of understanding the needs of the employee first. Absolutely, positively, understanding the needs of the employee first. So and then responding to those needs first, and then taking into consideration the business aspects. So my intention, if you were a teammate of mine, Marla, is to have a conversation with you and to become your coach to a point where you don't see me as the CEO of Staymetrics. You see me as almost your career coach or life coach, and I'm either going to help you stay in the company, or I'll even help you get out of the company. Whatever's in your best interest. And I think it starts with the intention, right? And that's the difference, I think, between heartfelt leadership and transformational leadership. Maybe I'll ask you to speak to that a little bit. And servant-based leadership. Servant-based leadership and transformational leadership are all leadership that is effective, but it's usually designed to meet the needs of the business, and that's where it goes. That's where it goes first. Heartfelt leadership is just really being in the moment with your team members, right, and finding out what their specific needs are, and then using my 30 years of skills and my partners and other team members to practice this as well, and really try to create an environment where that employee feels like we have their best interest in mind. And it's not just their best interest that I want you to be a great billing clerk, because then you can transition to a client relations manager. No, all that stuff's going to happen. But Marla, what says you on this?
Yeah, so I was just going to chime in here and say, from a business perspective, I can, maybe hear people saying, well, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to help someone find another job? If they're good for me, why would I do that?
Yeah, well, you're going to have to get rid of that. As Zig Ziglar would say, that's the stinking thinking. You got to eliminate that, because what and there is, and I appreciate your courage in making that statement, because that's where the majority of people are at. There, it's almost, I call it, it's so unorthodox that it's like, what's he talking about? Does he even realize he's on a call with businessmen, and he's suggesting to them that you look out for people first before the interest of the business? What is he, some sort of charity case? Well, if you follow my track record, I'm not a charity case. I'm an entrepreneur that has been able to build very successful companies for the last 30 years, built on culture. And what I've actually found is that's the way to do it. Because see, so many people are put off by the current employment surroundings, and put off by, okay, I'm going to work for you, and I'm just going to check the box. I got to do A, B, C, and D, and I do that, I get to keep my job. Is that all the relationship we're going to have? Is that all the care that you have for me? Because as a human being, what if somebody else comes and shows more care? I'm gone.
That's it.
Right? But wait a minute.
I'll chime in here.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no.
I'll say that statistically, people will stay at a job that makes less money, and I'm not saying pay people less, but they'll stay there statistically because they felt cared for overall. Their needs get met overall. People spend the majority of their time at work. If I spend the majority of my time at work, it needs to cause me as less stress as possible.
Sure.
And so if I have a leader who's helping me to better myself, I'm not leaving, actually. Even if they say, hey, the door's open, I'll help you go wherever you want to go. I want you to have a fulfilled life. Oh, light bulb, I'm staying right here. That not only happens, Marla, but we find people that we actually need to help out of the company. They're too comfortable. Okay? Reposition them, give them permission.
Yeah, absolutely. Not permission, but help them understand what that talent is, right? And help them understand why they might not be going after that. I mean, you have people that live an entire life that are in their 60s, and over a cold beer, a cup of coffee, they'll share with you that they wish they would have done something else. Are you kidding me? You only got one chance at this thing. Why spend one day working for a leader that you don't respect? Yeah.
Wow. So how do you know that you have this heartfelt leadership, or if you don't have it and you want it, is there a way to develop it?
Well, I saw that in the, as we were working on the curriculum for today, as to how to develop it. And I've got to tell you some things. So the fake it till you make it is garbage for me. Yeah. It is so silly. Because you're not being your authentic self, right? So I'm telling you, don't fake it till you make it. But if you are a person, I don't think you need to be a person of faith. But for me, if you're a person of faith, and we are called to love and serve one another, okay, and I don't care about that employee as a human being, I have to ask myself why I don't care about that employee as a human being. And that's where it starts for me. And by the way, there's a decent amount of times I ask myself, why don't you care, Tim? Why don't you care about this individual as an individual?
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's some head trash that they offended me, or I thought they offended somebody else. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I've got some bias against them. Right. And then by the way, I'm communicating that bias. Right. So it starts with, so how to develop it. And I think a lot of people have this innately in their heart. I really do. That you just understand that it's how we treat one another in not only business, but in life is probably, in my opinion, the most critical thing that we do. And we can make people feel good about themselves after a conversation with them. We can make them feel proud, or we can make them feel the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to be that boss that nobody wants to, nobody wants to pop in your office. Nobody's asking you for, your phone's not ringing with team members, you know why? Because they don't want to interact with you. And then if you're not interacting with them, they're not interacting with you. How can you be leading?
And so then we think about this aspect of everything rolls down, right? So if I'm this boss that check in with me when you need to,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to hire some more people that are the same way. And they may develop some of these philosophies of, well, the boss does it this way, so I should do it this way. And then you end up with a whole bunch of people just not feeling cared for.
Sure.
And if you have a boss up here who's saying, oh no, love your people, go in and have coffee with them, talk to them, then these people who really want to be a more personable leader now feels released to do so. Like, oh, okay, well, my boss is treating me like that, so I'm going to be able to treat my people like that.
You are so right, Marla.
All the way down.
And we look at that, and I don't like to use customers and carriers as an example, but there is a great example for that in our industry, and that's Prime Inc. out of Springfield, Missouri.
Yes.
That culture of caring for people starts with Robert, right? But you can feel it at the fleet manager level. You can feel it at the fleet manager level because it is so prevalent, and that culture is 20, 30 years of just basically caring for people. And how are we doing? I was there and I watched a video of one of their drivers, a husband and wife team that basically were homeless, and they were putting a heartfelt video out to the other team members of Prime, just telling them how proud they were that they were able to come through this program, and basically you saved our lives, and the kindness that you showed, and the kindness you showed, and you restored our dignity. Now we think we're in a trucking industry. Are you kidding me? What's worth more, hauling a load of freight or restoring people's dignity, right?
Absolutely. And so when you have that example of an organization that is thriving and they're treating people well, lets us know that it can be done. Right?
Yeah, and ours as well. So why have it? It makes crazy financial sense. All the anecdotal stuff you hear of, that if you take care of your employees are going to take care of your customers. That's true. But when you take it to a totally new level, to where that employee feels like, man, you've got their back, that's big. I want to back up a little bit, and I want to talk about the fact that heartfelt leadership was pretty prevalent up until about 40, 50 years ago. Okay. So we've got to remember, and sometimes we as Americans don't do enough work in our history books, but if we look at the way businesses were operating back in the 50s and 60s, there was really no or very little corporate turnover. There really wasn't. Corporate downsizing was there was no such thing. There was absolutely no such thing. So if we look at the psychology of that, the psychology of that is you joined a company, you joined it for life. You know, I'm from the South Bend area. We had Studebaker, Bendix, right? So if you came off the farm, man, and you got a job with Studebaker or Bendix, man, this is in the 50s and 60s, you were just, oh, that was the greatest thing that could be. And one of my favorite pieces in the book, The Heartfelt Leadership, talks about IBM and how IBM in the late 50s, they had a songbook. Now, when I first read that, I'm like, oh, cut it out. God, who would have a songbook? And I'm not singing any corporate songbook. I'm not gonna like. But when I read the book and you read it as well, and you saw that, no, this is why we sing, because see, Marla, you're a new team member, and you're going to be with me for life, and I'm going to be with you for life. Our families are going to know each other. Okay, my success depends on your success. And they started being able to pay people more money than the market, right? Because they were putting profits back into their employees. Hell, I'd write a song about that, right? You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. It reminds me of the yogurt company, the Greek yogurt company, the Cheboyan. They put back, the owner put back the profits into the employees, and they didn't know. He just walked in and started passing out checks. And when the employees were interviewed, one lady was crying and she said, I work here because I am treated so well.
For sure.
And he still gave us money. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, she said, I would never go work anywhere else.
Exactly. And as you know, in our turnover, we have low turnover. And if you look at our of who we have on, you're like, how in the world did you get that many years to head up your director of research? It's because people want to be part of these type of cultures. They're so rare, right? They're so rare that when you build them, people seek them out. I had 3 resumes this week to come in. We don't even have any jobs open. And 3 resumes of people, man, I have seen your culture. I've seen what you guys are all about. And I'd like an opportunity when one comes up. So that makes, we don't have to recruit, right? And when you do that, you in the trucking industry, as you're doing that with your drivers, this is what I want you to do this is your litmus test. Is go to one of your drivers and say, how do you like working here? And here's fail. I don't know. Here's fail 2. That's pretty good. Here's fail number 3. It's good. It's all good. Those are totally fail. Because what they need to come over the top and say, oh my God, this is the absolute best place I've ever worked. I cannot believe what you guys are doing. I can't believe what I experienced over here, what I experienced over here, what I experienced over here. Because that last one is when they can't shut up at the truck stop about your culture.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to spend $40,000 a month on recruiting.
There you go.
You know what you just got to do to people? Be kind to them.
And kindness is free.
It
cost you $0. I want to throw in here my
if a leader can't be kind, can't be kind, I think the leader over them should pull them in and say, why can't you be kind?
Yeah. What's going on with you? And let me pay for your therapy sessions.
There you go.
So, hey, let me tell you this. This is where I can throw in my trucking world.
Sure.
My father-in-law owned a trucking company here in South Bend. He's a lifelong trucker. He started steering. He couldn't even reach the pedals. He started steering the hay baler at 4 years old, right? Yeah. And so he died in March. Yeah. And talk about heartfelt leadership. I don't know. I think ultimately we have about 12 trucks. Yeah, and when he kept saying, I'm only going to get 1, I'm driving for myself. But he kept saying, I can offer people jobs who have felonies. I can offer people jobs who don't have post-secondary education. Yeah. I can offer people jobs who are hard workers and they want to work. And I'm telling you, when my father-in-law passed, people were in tears at these major construction areas who he has dump trucks who he poured for and major companies here like, oh my gosh, we just like, what are we gonna do?
We lost a legend.
And guess what? Oh, his Heartfelt Leadership transferred to his grandson and his wife, who now take over the company, and all those people continue to work and to drive with the same spirit of, I'm doing this because I love it, and I love VNR trucking. I love it. And they take care of them.
And you know what you look at too is you look at the lives that he touched. And for the 30, 40, 50, however many people attending, that's really what it is, right? As to how many lives can we touch when the end button hits, right?
That's it.
And it's not, you and I talk about this, but another recent epiphany I had was the death of come on, I'm trying to, the older guy that played Ben-Hur.
Oh yeah, when we talked about
come on, it wasn't Charlton Heston, it was Michael
the
Douglas's
other one,
father.
The other
okay.
Douglas.
Yeah, somebody will remind me. But anyway, the storyline, what Kirk Douglas. So Kirk Douglas dies, and he doesn't leave his 24 million to his son Michael, and that was the tagline, right? So everybody's like, it must have been some family conflict. To me, I didn't even read the family conflict because he left this 24 million, but he left it to charity. And I thought, what a wasted life. A wasted life. What do you mean a wasted life? This is the guy that did Ben-Hur. He was like top of Hollywood. He died with 24 million that he could have put to work for humanity. Now he's putting it to work for humanity now, but come on, you could have done. So with all of us, right, in the time we have left, is what if we can just really become heartfelt leaders in our companies, in our communities, right, and in our families, and we start to give mercy, and we start to give kindness. And well, it doesn't work in a business standpoint. I'll tell you, it works crazy in a business standpoint. Profits are better than if you were to study this, you'll find profits are higher. Turnover is lower, and your employees, you got to tell them when to stop working because they're so engaged.
Exactly. And you actually tell them when to stop. Like, hey, go be with your families. We love that you love us, but we love that you love your family too. It's just a couple of things. Language. I'm very big on language and terminology. We have about 3 minutes before we do Q&A, and I do see some questions. So I want to say this whole connection to servant leadership and heartfelt leadership, it is there. In studying leadership, there's these concepts that we have. The servant leadership in the 70s was coined by a man named Dr. Greenleaf, and it fits into what we're saying now is heartfelt leadership when you look at the motives behind it. But you brought up in the 70s about people in human resources and things like that. It used to be, Tim, that we were the personnel department because we handled people. We were the personnel department, okay? When we changed to human resources, we became a resource. We're a thing to be managed, like money. What are our resources? Oh, we have our bleach and our water. We have our trucks. We have our, steering wheel on the truck. It's a resource. It's a part. And we have people. People are resources. When we started devaluing people as what you speak of to humanity, as just humans, you start to see the decline in the shift in corporate America and in organizations. And that started in the 70s.
It did. And, the epiphany that I had is I was with some very hard charging logistics companies. Okay. I mean, it's 60, 70 hours a week. It's all hands on deck. It's everything for the next quarterly numbers. And that environment really churns people. In that environment, you're treating people like another widget. Really, okay, but then the reality is because labor market is getting tighter and tighter, and even your dispatchers, it's hard enough for you guys to find dispatchers and good people. So really, we're in that environment where people have choices now, right? And they don't have to work for you, right? Okay, it's been that way for a while, but some companies haven't changed their behavior, right? And you'll hear that, and they go, "Oh, these people don't work very hard." I'll tell you what, can't you give me some people that just, no, no. There's plenty of people that want to work hard. They just don't want to work for you.
Say that.
Yeah. So you, as the South Carolina Trucking Association, as you're all out there and you're competing for drivers, my suggestion for you is to create a culture that puts humanity first. Don't worry, your profits, I promise you, your profits are going to come. But puts humanity first. And you really want to get it to where when I ask your drivers how do they like driving for Miss Marla's trucking company, they come out with that emotion that your father-in-law, that those drivers, those grown men that are working, that are gravel haulers, about as rough and tumble as you can get. These grown men breaking down on the Reith Riley construction site when they heard of his loss, right? Breaking down because they had a human connection with this man. Yeah. They had this man did something for them that they will talk about for the rest of their lives. That, my friends, is worth a lot more than leaving $24 million to charity.
Wow, say that, and I concur. Thank you, Tim. We are on time for Q&A, and I know that Taryn has gathered some questions for us. So, Taryn, you want to jump in here with those? Good job, Tim. Look at you.
Nice. Well, we had one that says, with President Trump signing the police reform today, a survey was taken by Fox News at a truck stop, which may only represent a small portion of the truckers today. 79% of the truckers responded. They would not deliver or pick up loads in defunded police areas. What advice would you have for a company, owners, dispatchers, etc., on how to handle these situations?
And I said that I would answer that because I believe that we need to understand what defunded means. The terminology isn't good because you think funding and then you think defunding, and so you automatically go to they're taking money away from the police and now they're not going to want to work and all of this, and we support police. Defunded in this sense means they're taking away money from areas where police have been so involved where they really should not be. And that is social services. I called the police because my neighbor put his trash can on my yard and now he won't move it. I called the police because two little boys were fighting and one of them hit my dog. Our police, and I'll tell you the numbers in South Bend, I have good relationships with our police chief and our sheriff here. They spend a lot of time, about 38% of their days are spent on calls like, hey, their fireworks are too loud and I asked them to stop. Okay, well, is it a real noise ordinance? Is it past 2 a.m.? Is it like when they get called for every little thing? And so the things that are not true legal, hey, a law is being broken, safety is imminent right now, they're going to start defunding some of those things. Where CPS, Child Protective Services, should be called, you need to call them instead of calling the police. That's what that defunded means. It does not mean that they're taking money away from them. They're going to shift money and hours that would have been used on things like that to, we need more cops on the street to handle gang violence, and we need more cops on the street to take care and get training and do whatever they need. So you want to look that up and study defunded in your area because your cops may not do as much social service type work as other policemen do. So I think you definitely want to understand what it means before you say, you know, I'm not going to let my drivers go there. And all that get an understanding.
Now, for those who have company drivers who are already hesitant, what would you tell the companies? How would you tell the companies to approach their drivers?
Yeah. So here's what I would say is education. Okay. So what I would suggest you do is educate yourself, like Marla started to do. You're a business owner. You have a responsibility and accountability to understand this past just what you hear in a headline. Okay. Because you're going to create a policy that affects people's lives. So you owe it to the drivers that you're about to give this to understand it, what the risk is and what the risk isn't. And I think that would be my advice to them.
I 100% agree, and all that get an understanding. Go ahead, Rick.
I was just going to weigh in. You know, we talk about mindfulness and we talk about gratitude. I see the grateful sign behind you, Marla. You know.
Oh yeah.
But communication is also important. A lot of what we've discussed today is all about communicating with people.
Yeah.
You can't solve problems you don't even know if they exist if you're not communicating. And I think communicating using technology, fleets are getting more and more sophisticated in their use of technologies. We have, you know, all kinds of stuff come about the last 20 years, and now we've got this built into the trucks, and the drivers are more comfortable with it, and fleets are taking advantage of it. So the ability to communicate with your drivers in real time, about any time, anywhere, enables you and the driver to discuss that particular situation he may be facing or going into. And then, of course, it's the company, it's ultimately their responsibility to work with that shipper or that consignee about what challenges their driver is facing as he may be entering that area. And that shipper's got to help that driver and that company, whether it's to communicate to the police even that they're, you know, facing potential road blockages or protests in a certain area, or, you know, the company's going to have to work with that shipper or consignee to find a safe haven, a safe harbor for that to take place. So it's all about communication, and hopefully some of this social unrest and situations like this will dissipate over time. I think the politicians are certainly consumed with it and paying attention to it.
Rick, when you say
presidential elections too.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
There's something from Coleman. It says the various services you referred to are not known by most of the general public or me. How could one get that info out to the people? I think that goes to what Tim and I were saying, is that you have to find out from your organization or your local place what actually is being defunded.
Well, no, I think that I don't think that. I think that's like, how do I get a hold of Marla and how do I get a hold of Tim? I think so. I'm going to do it that way. So the very services you referred to.
You can definitely contact us.
So, let me share a little bit. I'll share a little bit. So at Staymetrics, and Coleman, thank you for that. And we try not to ever make these commercials. We want these to be educational panels. But at Staymetrics, we actually provide that feedback between the carrier and the driver, right? We've got a suite of satisfaction surveys that we start with your drivers at day 7. We do day 45. We run annuals for you, give you a dashboard to where you can see how your drivers are liking you and not liking you. What areas of the company are the hot spots? Why are drivers staying? So very intuitive. IOPsych, which IOPsych stands for Industrial Organizational Psychology. Very intuitive IOPsych platform that we use. We also have a rewards and recognition platform that Staymetrics has for your drivers as well. So I'm Tim at Staymetrics.com. So Coleman, you can reach out, or anybody can reach out from Tim at Staymetrics.com. Marla, Mentoring Moments, you know, we have used her. I'll tell you that, you know, from an opportunity to put these kind of sessions on for an individual company where you have either a team of 25 or 50 people on, or the whole company, depending on the size. Very, very beneficial to us at Staymetrics. It's been very beneficial to several of our clients that we've referred Marla to. So Marla, what do you want to add some?
Marla at mentoringmomentsllc.com.
Is Mentoring Moments LLC?
Yep.
Okay.
Here, I'll put it in the chat for you.
Okay, could you put mine in there too for me?
I can.
Tim at Staymetrics.com. And then
and back to Coleman, this is going to be an education piece, right? This is the time of all of us being educated at every level, even in our homes and in our communities, not just about business, but I need to know when I call the police, because it's our go-to, right?
Sure.
It's our go-to. And so it'll be like what do you call them? What do you call them, Rick? The 911 people?
Oh,
it'll be like them now having a different level of dispatching. Hey, what are you calling for? Blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Oh, no. I need you to call this hotline for that. We won't be sending the police. We'll be doing that. I just don't want you all to think that defunding means they're taking money away or dismantling the police, because that's what the word scares people into doing, which sometimes is a media ploy. That's not what that means, okay? Sure. Your police are not going to lose their money because of that word.
And then if there's any of you on this call that really gets into the heartfelt leadership side, and you really think that, golly gee, this is probably right up my DNA, I'd like to learn more. I love having one-on-one conversations. So feel free, Tim at Staymetrics.com. If you'd like to learn more about heartfelt leadership and my journey, I certainly, and if you have a journey that you're on, I'd love to learn about yours. And if you have a journey you'd like to go on, I kind of like to help you be your guide, if you'd allow me to.
And Tim is a very good mentor in those areas. I want to say that his talking about humanity, it's real, and that's where we are with making sure that we as people, right, human beings as people, all have the open door in our companies, in our organizations, that we can feel free to talk about issues without it being a battle. Some people are telling me when I go to these companies that, no, Marla, you don't know. It's a battle. Like, we'll be fired. I just can't bring it up. And so you have employees working with this level of stress because they need a check. And so we just want to create good, healthy staff cultures, healthy staff. And that's mind and body and emotions, right? And bringing all that in together. And I'm so glad for the heartfelt leadership of Tim, who started this and like I said, headed it off before it could take over. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys inviting us.
Thank you.
Well, I think you both did a great job, and it was easy to listen to, informative, entertaining. So thank you for that. You know, speaking of mindfulness, as the industry's lobbyist, the parent of an old parent of a teenage girl, and as the husband of a menopausal wife, I'm trying to practice it more and more these days. Okay.
Sound like my husband. Go, Rick.
I hope my staff recognizes that. I hope it's a tangible, you know, metamorphosis.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we I'm in your age group too. Is that my daughters brought me to it. Quite honestly, Rick. And it was, and I was going to tease that maybe they're doing mindfulness too. So like, why are you guys all doing we're trying to get a grip on you, buddy. You know. Well, that's really what it is. That's what it was in my house. That's what it was in my house.
Well,
that is.
parenting is as tough as dealing with employees and
Yeah,
the roughest
yeah,
world of trucking. So
yeah,
everybody
yeah, for
benefits
sure.
from all phases of life by I think practicing this. And so I want to close by saying thank you to the supporters of SCTA's Truck Fund. And the fund, this is an extraordinary fund that was created to help support SCTA through these uncertain and challenging times. I think we're all in this together. Everybody's struggling with the uncertainty. And so this extra support really helps. And I give a shout out to them. Again, it's McGriff Insurance Services, Carolina International Trucks, Omnitracs, the Bunch Truck Group, Christopher Trucks, and the Excel Truck Group. And for anybody else listening, you're welcome to join in too. Marla and Tim, thank you again. Y'all be well, stay well, good luck. And this is recorded so our folks can access it, and we'll share more of your information with them later. Tomorrow at 2, we're going to talk about cybersecurity. So we look forward to seeing everyone then.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Be well,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye now.
Bye.
And thank you to Worldwide Equipment as well.
Oh, worldwide, excuse me. Well, okay.